Hey guys, Huzzy here bringing you another video. Welcome back to a high rating spectator. Today we're watching a Challenger Irelia, and we're watching it against a Challenger Akali. So two champions that I think a lot of the community think are quite strong. But well, the way of it is they're both strong, but they're very much snowball picks. That if an Irelia gets behind, it is going to take a bit of recovery, and same with Akali. The basic reason behind it is, we mentioned a few times before in the past, basically, if a champion is an all-in champion, or a melee champion a lot of the time, they only do damage if they actually go in. So if they're actually really far behind, you have two choices. You either don't go in, and you're then not doing anything, or you still go in even though you're far behind, and the most likely outcome is you're just going to get killed. But that is the inherent problem with kind of these more snowboardy type of champions. But yeah, we're going to focus on Irelia. But what I liked in this game is that there are some like interesting picks as well. So we've covered Nidalee before, very high impact solo queue jungler. Malphite mid has been picked to try and counter the Lucian mid on the enemy team. And then you have Pantheon support. So those are like the standout picks for me on blue team. And then obviously red team, not as crazy, but they do obviously have an Akali. They've got Karthus jungle, they have the Lucian mid. So there are some, like, there's a bunch of interesting picks for this Challenger game. And I thought people would appreciate seeing kind of a crazy Challenger game as we normally do. What I would say, again, everybody in the comments, please put what champions you want me to cover. Especially, like, we're going to be obviously still covering champions in replay format the next couple of weeks. But in preseason, obviously the goal in preseason for a lot of us is going to be learning the game basically again. That there's going to be all new items, and we're going to have to like work out what's strong, what's weak. So a really good way of doing that obviously is to play ourselves, and we will be doing that. But also spectating high challenger players with the new items and kind of working out why are they doing certain things. So in the comment section, let me know what champions you especially want me to cover when the new items come in the next couple of weeks. Meanwhile, because Irelia's auto-attack prowess, and that was even before Conqueror procced, you know, it's just there. Like, I suffer versus Irelia because I will admit, the reason why I think I personally suffer from Irelia more than the average player is because I've played the game for so long, and maybe other people they can adapt to it quicker. But in my mind, I think of Irelia, still to this day, even though her rework was quite a while ago, I still think of Irelia as a mid to late game scaling champion, kind of like Jax, where the rework has actually given her so much more early game pressure. Like, an Irelia does kill a lot of things in an all-in at level 3. I'm not used to that. Like, genuinely, I'm used to Irelias that, like, take ages to actually scale. But that, again, that was pre-rework Irelia. So I think that's been a major issue with me and Irelia. Nice stun, though, but Akali lands her W to try and escape. But is it going to be enough? Double pressure here. The Irelia is just going to kind of back off a little bit. Karthus, I'll be able to say, honest, he needs to be careful, because Irelia's right now got her passive, everything ready to go. Two people low around the Scuttle Crab. Malphite might be making his way over, but Lucian obviously in close, close quarters going to be following him, so nothing major is going to be happening there. Irelia's going to go back. Meanwhile, Akali did go back and teleporting back to lane, and Akali most likely, Akali's picking up her double longsword for the early game pressure, because AD does a little bit better than AP early, and also Irelia buying the same exact items. But yeah, Malphite mid lane, is it a counter to Lucian mid? Well, the general premise will be yes, if he doesn't lose the early game really badly. But that, as we've said many times, is in essence how you beat Lucian mid. Don't get killed a lot in the early game, and most of the time you're going to beat him anyway. Assassins, if you're playing an assassin, you're designed to kill AD carries. If you're playing a mage, you're designed to kill AD carries. And something like Malphite is designed to, well, let's say, stop an AD carry. But considering he's playing Malphite mid, I presume he's probably playing full AP Malphite, which once again is designed to kill AD carries. So just don't let the Lucian snowball, you know, let him get ahead in farm, but that's about it. And for challenger players, it's why I'm like confused about the Lucian pick mid in higher rating play, because in mid rating to low rating, maybe to me it makes more sense, because it's like, oh, they don't know to not let it snowball, or they can't not let it snowball. But surely a challenger player or a pro player just knows, hey, I'm just not going to risk anything versus Lucian, and I'll do better. But sometimes you do see Lucian still getting pretty fed in the early game because people are forcing fights against him for no reason. Meanwhile, by the way, you all just saw the Akali out-trading the Irelia. You know, again, Akali's still an incredibly strong champion in League. And I think Riot not too long ago, and damn, that's a cool skin. I don't even know what skin that is. I think Riot not long ago released... Wait, what skin is this? I don't even know what skin this is. An Irelia with angel, like devil wings? I got no idea. Riot released data not that long ago of like League's most hated champions. And, you know, there was the regulars there. Yasuo, I think Zoe was there. Teemo. I think Akali was in the top 10 as well, which I don't think she ever used to be pre-rework. But because, yeah, she was a very niche pick pre-rework. Akali was what I would consider a one-trick champion. She's not anymore. Most people that play Akali do generally main her, but you don't have to because of just how much strength the champion has. If you just cover the basic mechanics and you're good with mechanics, you can probably play Akali. So let's say a generic-y mid/top lane player in Diamond probably can play Akali okay if they are a mechanically, you know, blessed player. I have to Google what Irelia this skin is. Irelia, because this is now going on my mind. Irelia skins. Let's have a look. Meanwhile, Pantheon and bot lane doing well. You know, again, you can see the Akali catching up with farm quite a lot, by the way, because the Irelia is not thinking that this is a free lane. So right, so the skit. Oh, it's that. It's High Noon Irelia. Oh, is it High Noon Irelia? I think it's High Noon Irelia. Yeah, yeah, it is High Noon Irelia. When that came out in June 2020. I don't think I've seen anybody use this skin. How weird is that? I think I would have noticed because it looks really cool. Karthus in top lane, by the way. And also Nidalee is on her way. So in the early game, nothing crazy. Blue team obviously does have the lead right now. In terms of scaling, which team outscales who? Nice stun hit by the Irelia is looking aggressive. Karthus on the back foot with then also fighting the Nidalee. Nidalee is 2 levels ahead, by the way, of the Karthus right now. But in that trade, you can see the health bars. Karthus did actually come out on top. Because, you know, his damage is high. You know, he even recently got a nerf to his Q because his damage is just crazy. It's really good. It's too, the wording Riot, I think, used was, it's too consistent. Just does too much damage, especially in high rating play where they're more accurate with their Qs. You just nail people in the early game. You know, landing 3 or 4 Qs nearly kills people. It's like, oh god. So yeah. Anyway, in bot lane, what's happening down here? Pantheon engaging with a Jhin ultimate over the top. Again, Pantheon support, by the way, still a thing. This just straight up murders the owner. This game was played, I believe, earlier today of me recording this. This video is probably going to be today's second video. Oh, no, it's going to be tomorrow's second video. So, of you watching this game was played yesterday. So, you know, very recent. Irelia going for a dive with no mana. Doesn't matter. Just kills the Akali. If I'm honest... Oh, it's because her Q is a 20 mana cost. I was actually surprised she could actually cast that, but it's so low mana she could actually take the kill. And let's be honest, everybody. Yes, you know, Irelia used Flash. Akali used Flash. That's crazy that she could just straight up dive at Akali in that way and get away with it and be relatively good in health. Like, that's pretty good. And, yeah. And, you know, not even long ago, the Irelia was just being a little bit cautious of even just in the 1v1, even without Karthus around, the Irelia was just kind of waiting, kind of going, just going to see what's going to happen here, because there was a trade, and the Irelia lost the trade. So again, not a free matchup, but Irelia, what I would say then, is what we call pulled the trigger, is that sometimes when nothing happens in a while, in a lane or a game in itself, when suddenly a player just goes, bam, like flicks a switch, and is just going to suddenly make a really aggressive play, it either goes really good or really bad, because if it goes really good, the enemy is not expecting it because it's been so passive for 5 minutes. So they can get caught off guard, boom, they're dead. It also can go really bad because you yourself haven't been doing anything crazy active in 5 minutes. That is most likely the biggest time you're going to make a mistake mechanically. When you're playing really mechanically all the time and things are crazy, your mechanics are probably going to be good because that's what you're doing all the time. Meanwhile, big fight happening. And one thing I want you guys to kind of notice, by the way, with this Irelia, that's a really good Irelia tip, is notice how she doesn't use the Q on the target she wants to kill until she's going for the kill. She'll always Q to a minion first to get close to auto attack, and only use the second Q, or her, you know, the Q on the actual champion, when she goes, right, I'm now going for the kill. So that's something to take in mind. Meanwhile, Rift Herald has been used, and I've said many times, I'm not a big fan of this. You can let me know what you think down below. But I'm not a big fan of a jungler who's not been involved in top lane, goes to get Rift Herald, then a 1v1 does happen, but sometimes it doesn't even take a 1v1 to happen, and a jungler just goes, loop-de-doop-de-doop, let's go near the big, tower, I'll spawn my monster, Rift Herald in, and boom, your tower's dead. I'm just not a big fan of that. Like, to me, Rift Herald as what it should be, or not really what it should be, I just would prefer it was more of like, it didn't do as much damage, like it doesn't destroy or something. Like maybe Rift Herald should hit a tower and gives you all the gold for the tower. Like, these plates. You see the shields that give the tower the plates. Maybe it knocks that off and gives you the gold for them, but it keeps the health on the tower. Because I just think it just kind of ruins the lane a bit too much. Because you could be literally winning top lane, doing really well, you go back to base, and the enemy jungler just decides, I'm going to just use Rift on top lane, and suddenly your tower's just gone. And it's like, really? It's just not satisfying. I talk a lot about is play in League of Legends satisfying, and to me, that should be something. Meanwhile, 2v1 top lane, potentially. Irelia opens with her ultimate, is going to land it, but she has to be careful here. What can she do? She does have stun. Wow, she just straight up kills that. Look at the damage! Just absolutely, honestly, that was so much damage that she was dealing. Nearly a 2v1, nearly. But she will go down in the end. Even getting one kill in basically a one-shot on the Akali was impressive. Meanwhile, big play. Malphite teleports bot lane. Is going to find the Karthus Jhin ultimate. Sadly, just out of range to get the final kill for him. And that will be the end of that. So obviously, blue team doing quite well. But as I was going back to the point that I was making, I think Riot's dropped the ball in one big area of League of Legends. We talk about game balance. Game balance is up and down. But the big area that I think Riot's dropped the ball on is satisfying play. Satisfying in terms of playing it with it, against it, as it. I'd say they probably still do well as it's satisfying to play certain champions or do certain things. I think they've got that. But I think Riot has dropped the ball in the other two areas, playing with it or playing against it. Like, playing with it, like right now, Irelia's not going back to top lane because the top lane tower, well, she actually killed it because Nidalee helped her with the Rift Herald, and now what does she do? And there's now all lane swaps. It's just a bit confusing sometimes. And there's other things, obviously, that are in that category, but there's that. And the other thing, and the bigger area, I think, is unsatisfying to play against. That Akali, who just had her top lane tower destroyed, it's just not satisfying. Like, yeah, she was losing lane a little bit, but was she losing lane enough that her tower would have got blown up when it did? In a natural lane? No. And there's a bunch of new champions in the game that, again, going back to whatever the hell, is it satisfying to play against the Samira? No. Is it satisfying to play against the Yone? No. So, I think that is, for me, if people said, what is the biggest area you want Riot to kind of work on? Oh, toxicity. Is it satisfying with the toxicity in the game? No. It's satisfaction. That's a word. That. Riot need to work on that, especially when it comes to playing against. Because the weirdest thing, when we all talk about toxicity and rage quits, and obviously I think Season 10 has been the biggest season for rage quitters in League of Legends history, it's also not satisfying to win a game against rage quitters as well. Because we're here to play a game. We're here to play League. And if the enemy team rage quit, well then your game's done. And yeah, you're happy because you got LP, but it's not satisfying. So that is the area that I think Riot need to kind of bring up a level and get back on top of, is make the game satisfying again. It's going to be hard to do that though, but hopefully, we've got the new items, and even though I think a lot of them, again, could go into the category of, is it fun to play against something? Like, imagine the assassin item where the assassin goes invisible after one-shotting something for 1.5 seconds. Is that satisfying? I don't know, but maybe it will just give the game a bit of a breath of fresh air, and hopefully that'll be really good. And apologies, by the way, for talking that. Nothing major is happening in the game right now. And I just thought, and think of this as a commentary / league discussion kind of in one video, which I think is quite good. But hey, yeah. Pantheon, though, doing quite well. 3-1-2. Honestly, quite surprised the Leona has died as much as she has. 0-5. Because I would think a Leona, being as tanky as she is, even in the early game with her W and stuff, would be, not dying all the time to a Pantheon. But obviously that isn't the case. Meanwhile, Malphite did get a solo kill on the Ashe, who's obviously going to struggle against the Malphite because, you know, she's an immobile AD carry, and Malphite has a ult that kind of owns immobile things. And you'll also notice, by the way, we did mention, is Malphite going to go AP? Hell no, he actually didn't even go AP. So this Malphite has purely picked Malphite mid against Lucian mid and is just going full tank. He does go down in the end, maybe a bit of an overstay after killing the Ashe in top lane. But yeah, he's not even going AP. That might be a lesson to some people who are watching this in like lower ranks, because AP Malphite is very popular, or more popular, in like silver to gold area. And you'd be like, oh, I'm picking Malphite to counter the AD thing, but I'm mid lane, so I have to build AP. Technically, no. Like, maybe he'd have to build AP if his jungler wasn't AP, so you'd have some mixed damage. But he's got a Nidalee jungle. She's AP. That's fine. You know, you've still got a mixed team when it comes to AP damage. And obviously, Malphite, he's still going to do ability power damage, even without maxing like, building ability power. And yeah, he's just basically a Malphite. Meanwhile, look at that Pantheon. He is manly. A lot of the time, AP Malphite is just as useful as Tank Malphite. And if anything, Tank Malphite might be actually useful, more useful in general. Because it's the ultimate. That's the champion, right? Meanwhile, the Akali did decent damage, but I don't think actually got anyone in the end. Irelia, trying to hunt down the Karthus, is going to Q to him without even getting the double Q because the Karthus has no escape. He might have had flash up, by the way, but just didn't use it. 0-5 Karthus having a rough early game. And that is obviously the weakness of Karthus, or what should be the weakness. He's a late game hyper mage. You know, he can land his ultimate in late game, does 600-700 damage, and he lands that on 5 people every single team fight potentially. It's insane how much damage Karthus can do. So he should have a really weak early game. And that is why, by the way, they moved him to the jungle. People moved him to the jungle. He was designed to be a mid lane mage, but you get punished going mid lane. You know, other mages are stronger than you. A Syndra could one-shot you at level 6 or whatever. Or a Zed's going to beat you in the early game. Or a Yasuo is going to be annoying. So people are like, oh, I'm going to take him into the jungle. I can free farm. People, in theory, well, obviously you can get invaded, but they're not going to beat me as much when I'm in the jungle, and it lets me kind of get to mid to late game. But obviously this game has gone relatively bad because of a Nidalee has insane pressure. But so far, the Irelia, another thing I wanted to point out, by the way, is the time of the game. Has anybody noticed something? The Aurelia's farm, she's just hit 200 farm and not even 18 minutes. So that when I saw, and I was going through different replays, you know, to kind of do, when this game ends, her farm in my head is mind-boggling. Like, obviously farm is arguably one of my weakest areas of League, especially when I'm streaming and commentating, because it's, you know, it is difficult to commentate and concentrate on little things. Sometimes it's easier to concentrate on the really big things, like a big team fight I might do well in, because it's something that is quite easy to concentrate. But when you're doing a commentary and you're actively talking, when you're just kind of last hitting, oh, I missed that one. Oh, I missed that one. And in a 6 minion wave, you miss 3 minions. It happens. Meanwhile, enemy team going aggressive. Leona Flash doesn't hit it because Irelia also flashed, and she will make her way. Ashe Arrow is on the way down, and it is going to be interesting that Irelia does miss it. She dodges to the right. Not sure if the red team was actually following up that arrow at all. They may have been, but the arrow does not connect. And Irelia is now waiting in the bush to see if Lucian does decide to continue pushing, which I presume he's not going to do. If I was Lucian, I would probably be like, Irelia's still probably bot lane. And anyway, she kind of gets out of the cover of the bush, and she will get even more farm. So Wit's End second, by the way. Very effective item in terms of even damage, but also she's against an Akali, so if Akali were to 1v1 her, it's a magic resist item. And also there's a Karthus in the game. Ultimate does miss, unfortunately. Karthus on the back foot. Pantheon going to be looking for the W any second. Irelia goes for the Q. Is going to maybe finish. Oh, very nice finesse. Killing the Karthus with the stun. That is what you call confidence of an Irelia. And yeah, now 610-224 farm at, again, before 20 minutes, having over 220 farm is probably something I've never done. Like, hell, if I have, it's probably been once or twice. And maybe on something like a Karthus or an Anivia that is just designed to farm. But yeah. Anyway, the game itself, you know, it's a 10,000 gold lead for blue team. But the funny thing is, Lucian, you'll notice, he's doing quite well. 5-1. Ash Arrow did go down but didn't connect. And I know, by the way, I don't mean to be giving Lucian mid and all that a hard time, but all of us would know and we agree Lucian does fall off as an AD carry. A lot of Lucians are actually building tier because they go mirror mana and that gives him some scaling. This Lucian did not go tier. Most likely because he felt the need to try and do well in the early game, to try and snowball, and if you're building a tier item, that's obviously going to weaken your early game. So they have, the enemy team has a Lucian who's doing well. He's 5-1. He's having a great game. He's out farming his lane opponent by 20. But it's a Lucian. He's not going to be that major carry really in this game when there's a Malphite that can just shut him down, or a Nidalee that can one-shot him, or an Irelia that's going to just absolutely blitz him. So this is the problem with something like Lucian, or relying on it to be one of your main carries. To me, Lucian is way better. Again, granted, in pro play, they can build a comp around it, and it can work really well. But to me, Lucian in solo queue works good as an AD carry in bot lane. Try to snowball the early game. That will give you then the pressure on dragons, and then hopefully you have a mid to late game scaling mid laner, or a mid to late scaling top laner or jungle that basically can take over really the carrying aspect of the game when Lucian kind of falls off. That's the way that I think Lucian works best. But yeah. Anyway, what's going to happen here? Big engage is happening. Again, the Leona, by the way, is 0-9. She's engaging or getting caught. Not really sure. 0-10 now. So, we always say, and I actually like when we're doing challenger replays, it makes this more normal of, oh, this is a challenger player who's going 0-10. It happens. Like, the League community has such... Meanwhile, Irelia going very all-in does get the Ash... Oh, nice snipe by Pantheon, though. Ultimate by the Malphite, getting the double kill for the Pantheon. But yeah, I've said it all the time. The League community has a really weird fixation with perfection, that even silver people will be demanding perfection from their teammates. Or as a YouTuber, the YouTube comment section laughs if you have a bad game, or calls you boosted, or say, oh, get carried, noob. The League community is very weird when it comes to, like, bad games. That, like, people don't expect people to have bad games. So I love doing challenger replays, and when we see someone having a bad game, there's a 0-10 Irelia, a 0-10 Leona, there's a 2-8 Karthus. These people are having bad games, and they're challenger players. So to some people, that might break their whole mental of going, wait a minute, that means that my, challenger players can have bad games. My teammates in silver, they're not allowed to have bad games. Like, that's what I like. I like that logic does show that everybody can have a bad game. But that is it. Big game by Irelia. She just got herself a death stance, by the way. But yeah, look at the farm. So this is kind of why I wanted to show this replay, by the way. Wanted to see Irelia. She's against an Akali who's not a pushover champion. But Irelia won her farm by 100 farm over the Akali. And the Akali had 160 farm. That's not too bad at 23 minutes. Irelia had 262 farm at 23 minutes. And it's not like she just sat AFK just farming. She was 7-2. Good KDA and insane farm for 23 minutes in the game. So I just thought I'd show this because I think Irelia is still a really good champion. And I do think she's probably going to be quite strong in the upcoming season because, again, well, this one didn't, but Triforce is always known to be an okay item in Irelia. That is obviously a upcoming mythic item. But I don't really know which mythic item Irelia is going to go to. I think she's one of these champions that has options. And that's what I will say. When people say, oh, Huz, what champions do you think are going to be like really good in the upcoming season? Obviously, there's going to be champions that will synergize really well with one mythic item. But I honestly think it's the champions that are going to be synergizing with a couple. That, oh, I can build 2 or 3 mythic items. And obviously, that's what Riot wants. They want to give every single champion the choice of 2 to 3 every game. But there are obviously going to be cases that, let's be honest, there's just the way the balance is. There's going to be champions that are only really good with 1. I think Irelia is going to be good with 2 or 3. Maybe even more. And I think that's going to be scary. The champions that could build anything at any different game that you can't predict, that's going to be hard. But anyway, that's going to be it. If you guys did enjoy, I've got hiccups apparently. Do throw a like on the video, throw a comment, let me know what champions, again, you want to see upcoming in Challenger replays, especially in preseason. when we are going to be obviously looking at what the new items are and why are they building things and kind of talking about that as well. But I'll see you guys next time. Please do throw a like on the video. It does help out more than you think. And yeah, have a great day, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Peace.